Welcome to or welcome back to Sexy Business Podcast. I'm your host, Esve,
And I'm Karolina.
and we're going to be talking about various topics such as
Love, partnerships, business, sex, power, and much more.
so tune in, like, and subscribe to see other episodes.
And today's topic we have self-worth. Okay? And what is the self-worth? Is a sense of feeling worthy of love, belonging, and being good enough. So, how do you see that for yourself, Esme?
Yeah, so I want to bring it also to facts and my experience from bioarchaeology. And you said like it's the sense of belonging, and we're gonna dig deeper into that feeling and like why there's so much misconception around that. But because from bioarchaeological perspective, we as humans, back in the days, if we weren't accepted by others, we couldn't survive as individuals. So we wanted and needed to belong. So I'm bringing it back to you. If we're looking into your childhood, okay, this concept of what it is sounds good, but how did it actually feel and was in your childhood?
Okay, so for me, definitely it started this self-worth in the childhood because the simple things that we hear when we are small, like, okay, you can go and get this or do that when you complete certain task, yeah? Or you get more attention and more love and more praise only when you're behaving good. And that other part of you where you are angry or misbehaving is put aside and not really discussed about it. Okay, so it made me feel since I was small that I have to achieve, I have to be good enough, I have to give something to get love, to be valued, and to get something in return. Okay, and how about you, Isve?
So yeah, my childhood was a little bit different, but I still want to like ask you one more thing before I go into mine, okay? Where do you think that belief came from? That like everything comes from kind of like external approvals? Are you able to track it back a little bit more?
Um, I think, as I said, I think it came from the parents, from the close family. Obviously, later on, it was extended sources and society, but I think it started very early for my age, just at home with my mom, with my dad, with my stepdad afterwards. All these things started in the house, and it's those people are the closest to you. And as a child, you see your parents as as they are perfect. None of the children think, oh, my parents are so bad. No, you start thinking that later on in life. But when you are small, for you the whole world is your parents, so whatever they tell you to do or the way they behave, we actually absorb so much and we think this is the correct way. And that's what I think put a very big belief for me, that my worth is only when I'm good, when I achieve good things, and then I can go and get some ice cream, if I tidy up my room, or if I do all those things. Everything was for everything, for something. It was never like, okay, we're just gonna have like ice cream or something like that. It was always something has to be done to do it. And I think that's when you start thinking, okay, if today I woke up and I'm sitting in bed, I'm not worthy. I have to do something to be actually getting something.
You have to earn it,
You
right?
have to earn it, yes. And that's how the external concept came, kind of grown into me.
Yeah,
Since the
okay.
childhood.
Got it.
Yeah.
So yeah, you got it like very young age as like it has to be an external validation for me to be worth it.
Yes.
So for me, it was kind of different. And as a spiritual person, and my parents believed it too. Like I chose my parents, and I believe that. And due to that, I had a lot of freedom when I was growing up, and I didn't have that placed on me. I went to a Waldorf school, which is a completely different concept. We didn't have grades. Like I was never graded in my school. So I never kind of like had the concept when I was a kid that like, oh, like there's like a certain grade that I need to get to be, I don't know, yeah, as you said, worthy, I was like, I'm amazing as I am, like that was my childhood experience. um but then at some point, um I changed schools and I went to the, let's call, normal school. And then was the reality hit me. I was like, hold on a moment. Like everyone was like, chasing grades or looks or something. And like, yeah, people were trying to be something. And I had this like reality shape shifting thing where I was like, oh, okay. So in order to get into university or something, I need a grade. So for me, it became like chasing results that then will reflect how worthy I am. Um, so yeah, so my concept started that I was very solid, and then I think more in like my teenage years, I started, yeah, shifting into like, okay, I need to do good in order to be good and perceived as like worthy in society. How did it change for you? Because like you had a very different starting point, but how it evolved as you became more and more grown up.
Okay, so as an adult, I think for a very long time, in my early 20s, I think I still carried the same feeling that I have to be worthy by external sources. They judge, they grade how good I am. But I think because I got into relationship quite young, and all this shifted for me in the, okay, now I am 23, I am a wife, and then a few years later I become pregnant with my first child, and everything was surrounding like the housework, like the baby, the husband and stuff. And that's when I started to be like, okay, so now my worth is more what I do in the house. But that's, again, it was an external, how good I am a wife or a mother.
And what you do rather than how I am.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
So it did continue. Unfortunately, it didn't stop. And it did continue for a very long time. And the sad part of it is, by trying to be good, there is the saying, a good girl and stuff, by trying to lift my own worth higher, I kept, doing more and more and more and more, until I drained myself so much that, yeah, then I got really sick and stuff. And I think that was the point when I was like, okay, this is how everything is going, because I give so much for my partner, for my children, and I have no more time for myself. And then the moment something is not going well, somebody saying, you know what, I don't think you're a good wife, or I don't think you're a good mom, it's crashing down your self-worth completely, because that's the only factors I was basing my worth on.
So the question, if I go back to that, Karolina, and you woke up and you did absolutely nothing that day, like how would that make you feel? Like, yeah.
Well, at that time,
Yeah.
at that time, I would definitely not feel well. I would be like, I would have anxiety,
Yeah.
It made me feel anxious that, like what? I woke up and I'm doing nothing. No, yeah, that would bring me a lot of anxiety, stress, and this will push me, okay, I have to do it. I have to do this. I have to do that.
And this is where I relate so much. You were like, okay, a perfect mom, a perfect family, right? You create that. And me, through like the changes of Waldorf school, which is like no grading, and then, okay, like all the external things that need to be there. After university, I started my business, and my whole worth, like I needed to learn how to rest, because like my whole worth was like, as you said, on the doing part, and I need to learn that like I'm a human being rather than the human doing. But yeah, I also like, my main thing in life became building business, building revenues, which was amazing. And I enjoy that. I even enjoy that now, but I have a very different shift because if I did nothing, if I, like, you know, if you asked Esve, what, 5 years ago, probably, if I was resting, I was saying as I'm doing nothing and exiting entrepreneurship, I really had those hard questions to ask myself, like, who am I? What am I worthy if I'm like, you know, if I don't have my business? And it really, really like, you know, took me down to rethink and kind of like, okay, how I was basing myself when I was actually like 1 year old, 5 year old, like, you know, when like kids have this, like,
Yes,
I
we are
think
born with
like
this, yes.
you're a mom, so I think,
Yeah.
you know, you see them, like they come into this world, they know who they are,
Yes.
and then probably what happens, like it's society,
Parents, society,
Yeah.
family. Yes, yes. It breaks that freedom that we're actually all coming here with, you know. And yeah, it breaks it. It shatters the dreams and everything, you know. And they put all those ideas that, you know, it has to be done like this or it has to be done like that. And yeah, it's really sad. It's
Yeah.
really sad, you know.
Yeah.
And right now, for example, you as an adult who already changed, you don't think like this. What do you think? What helped you to kind of move past that point?
Yeah, I think for me it was very, very like radical self-acceptance. And it's something that I even discuss like these days, like being authentic to myself and accepting that I'm accepted by like 1% of the world around me, and I'm fine. I don't need external, like literally one day, you know, I was walking and I was like, I'm so happy, like dogs come to me happy and I can pet them. And I was like, I'm really like, because I see people around me and they're like chasing a job title or something. And I know when I have a conversation with a person, like really don't care like what they do. It's amazing if we talk business, obviously, but I'm like, who you are. If like if I eliminate your money, if I eliminate your title, what's there? Like what
What's
is
your
left?
worth?
Yeah. And for me, the biggest shift was like my family was always this way. So, you know, I think like I was like I wanted to like I went into like another school and probably wanted to be accepted. I wanted like, you know, to have more friends. That's why I took over that world as well. Um, but what I feel now and what I have people around me is they love me for who I am rather for what I do. Where back in the days, I think I had a lot of people who loved me for what I do. And if the doing part was eliminated, I didn't have self-worth because I couldn't, like, you know, as you said, like as a mom, come and deliver and here's your stuff, you know, people pleasing. That part is gone. And then like, so you don't bring any value to me, which is not true.
Which is not true.
Yeah.
Exactly. Wow.
So what was your realization? What was your shift and transformation?
For me, I think it was the point of my sickness and also a divorce. I think it really put me. Divorce is super difficult emotionally, physically, and you know, because no matter what, when we get into relationship, is it a friendship, is it a partnership, is it a marriage, any type of relationship, you don't think it's gonna end, you know, and you kind of have this hope, you know, that you can work it through no matter what. And when it doesn't, everything shatters and you're like, okay, so my self-worth completely got destroyed. You know, like the self-image, like physical body, my achievements and everything. And I felt like, oh my gosh, I have nothing. Like I'm nothing. Now I'm just a divorced woman. And yeah, that was like, I was like completely down. And obviously that's the moment, you know, when they say, when you have this like crashing point, that's when you're like hitting the wall and you're like, okay, there is nowhere back. You are like stopped. So that was like, okay, I need to do something about it. I cannot continue living like this if I want to get out from this cycle, you know? And that's when I started to look for help. I started to look for different things, what I can do, how can I help myself first, so then I can help obviously my kids, the transition of divorce, and how can I help to rebuild this broken castle that I had, you know? And yeah, I think this was my really strong point that moved me from this part. And I was like, okay, no, I finally have to realize that I'm worth being here no matter what I did. Or did I lose my self-worth now because I'm divorced? You know, what society thinks and stuff. So I started to change my mindset about it. And yeah, I'm happy where I am now, you know, like, and I think I needed it. I'm actually grateful for my ex-husband. He did that to me, that I finally can see myself, because I wouldn't. I've been 14 years in the marriage, and I didn't see. I was suffering. It was hurting me, and physically and emotionally, and I couldn't get out of it. And this was the breaking point where, you know, I could finally take care of myself and build myself back.
It's funny, right? How it doesn't matter like what concept and nouns we chose. Like yours was like wife, mom, mine was like a businesswoman, high achiever, whatever. And like now, like I can choose whatever title to like like, you know, if I need to like explain myself, but I don't put my worth on whatever word that I'm saying, and I'm not that. I'm me in the end. And I think that was the biggest realization for you and for me, when everything externally has been eliminated.
Exactly. I agree. I agree
So,
totally.
so what do you think are like the main steps that you took that helped you and that others could, to like go back to that concept of like,
I think number one would be start looking at yourself, get to know yourself, because a lot of people these days, they don't know who they are, you know? And why? Because society was modeling them. They knew who they were when they were young, but then they lost themselves. And I think number one, start looking at yourself, like who I am, what do I like, what I don't like. Start saying no to the things you don't like, because it's very hard when you don't know who you are to say, oh, what I like. Sometimes we don't know. But as soon as that really helped me, as soon as I started to say no to the things I knew I didn't like, you know, everything kind of diluted. And I started to say, okay, I like this and I like that and I like that. And it really brought me back into wanting things. And because before was like, just do it, do it, do it, do it. And now it was like, I want to do it, you know, I'm choosing to do it. And it really started to bring more joy for me. And then I started to change um, the feeling, the way I look at myself, at my body, how I wanted to look, how I am. I started to embrace, and obviously I started kind of meditations, I started affirmations, I started a simple exercise I saw in one of the videos online, that, you know, just standing there at the mirror and looking at yourself and saying all the beautiful things that you see at yourself, instead of standing there and criticizing all the bad things that you see, you know. And slowly it helps. And once you start building that better relationship with yourself, then the next step, start building a better relationship with other people, with friends, with partners, with family members and stuff, you know. Start building a healthier relationship and start to eliminating the people don't bring value to you, you know, the people who don't lift you up and who doesn't share a better, like, positive energy with you. That was my steps, you know, that really helped me. And then, you know, once you start something, it's rolling bigger and bigger and bigger, like a domino effect, you know. And really it expands to so many more things. But yeah, number one is start listening to yourself, you know, again, finding yourself.
I love these points because I think like I can um, reflect on that as well. Like the biggest thing was like my relationship with myself, my relationship with others, and a big thing of like saying no. What would you say to people? Because I know it will come up. It's hard to say no in the beginning. So what would you say to a person who is like, but like, you don't know my situation. I can't, I have to go there. I have to do this or something. What would you say to a person who's like, it's like, how do I say no?
How did it help me to say no? Yes, that's true. It's very hard to say no to people, and especially to your close friends and your family. To the strangers, you can much easier say, oh no, but to the closest people, no. What helped me to realize that, what, in this world, who I am responsible for, only for me. So I am not responsible for the person reaction, because I think that's what we're afraid the most by saying no. We're like, oh, how is this person going to react when I say no to him, I think that's the real big trigger, saying no. Yeah. But once you realize, okay, I'm not responsible how that person is reacting, and it doesn't have to be big at the beginning, just say no. Or for example, when somebody calls you, like a friend calls you, they say, oh, can you meet up this weekend? And you can, instead of answering, yeah, I'm free all weekend, or I can accommodate you, you can say, look, I have this time and this time, kind of scheduling. And this is kind of saying no, because I'm putting myself as a priority when it's comfortable for me.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And this what really helped me little by little until I got stronger to say, no, I cannot.
Accommodating. That got stuck with me because I think like I'm really good now at this. Like I'm very much centered. And I think it's very easy maybe sometimes to try to accommodate others, yes, which is good in some contexts, but it's not my job.
Exactly.
And I think my biggest realization this week was that I already told you is that like I have three main priorities in my life, which is first me and my spiritual well-being, second me and my mental well-being, and third is me and my health. And then are the rest. So saying no becomes easy because like are those fulfilled, and then I can look externally. So I think, yeah, self-worth is very much of like centering back, getting that relationship back. And it sounds easy, but it takes time.
It does.
So be kind to yourself.
Start slowly, little steps.
And explore the journey.
Thank you for watching.
Thank you for being with us. Like, subscribe so you can see other episodes.